One of the many things to differentiate BFDIA from all the other seasons of BFDI is the ability to swap teams at any time before challenges. This gimmick was used quite a lot within like the first 5 episodes of the show, but then Free Smart was formed, and that kind of led to the 3-team dynamic we had for the next few episodes of the season. It led to quite a few interesting things, like Gelatin and Fiery swapping over to Free Smart, and everyone forming a massive team while Fries was left by himself. And I know what you're thinking, it would just be Woe Bunch, the 3-person team, versus literally everyone else. That wouldn't be very interesting. However, we're not doing those 2 teams, we're doing the old versus new teams. Also, yes, I do know that Donut did try to take Match before the team swapping rule was announced, so if we were thinking of it without team swapping, then Match would stay on that team. However, I feel like for consistency's sake, I just keep Match with all the oldies. And also I've written this entire video without taking that into account. I don't think that much would change anyway, so I'm not going to change it. In episode 1, the challenge is a tug of war, and you'd think that the newbies would lose because they have less members, but we have to take the armless people into account, and the newbies still lose, so Dora will probably be the first one eliminated. I know Donut was shown to be a little bit mean earlier in the episode, however I feel like Dora, being a joke character, would kind of outlive the Donut being mean for one segment. Remember, the new team has Puffballs, so they can just go to Yo-Yo Land to get the Yo-Yo berries. Either way, the prize is Yo-Yo Seeds, so they'll probably win. I have no idea what on earth the old team would do though. Like, they wouldn't have any Yo-Yo berries at all. Episode 3's elimination would probably be very close. However, I feel like Rocky would probably not do much later, so I feel like generally most people would vote for Rocky. Just like in normal BFDIA, Bommy would probably just blow up all the bugs in his team, so they win again, and the oldies lose again. Remember how in normal BFDIA, Teardrop's vote was actually rigged? Well, I feel like the same would happen. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but this scenario will be happening around the same time as the actual show was releasing, like back in 2012, and there will be no hiatus and BFBs or teapots. It would just be BFDI and BFDIA in the scenario. And because of Bommy's explosionness, Golf Ball's Dream Island will be blown to smithereens yet again. Just like in BFDIA 10, the bottom 2 will be Golf Ball and Match. And for some reason it'll be Match getting voted off. I don't know why people voted Match in BFDIA 5. Despite winning the prize probably once, Puffball would still be delusional and think she'll win the prize again if she froze for the team, so it'll be the news that lose. Puffball was eliminated. Since it'd be kind of hard to tell who'd win the challenge, I feel like the writers probably would have just made the news lose again. And generally, Yellowface is the most annoying out of the bunch, so he'll probably be the next one eliminated. Golf Ball would make the wooden elimination area, while the newbies would probably go to like the space station and build what they did in the original episode, so they'd probably win. Despite Golf Ball probably being perceived as bossy last episode, it's proven that Spongy would probably be voted out over Golf Ball, so it'd probably be Spongy being eliminated. Gelatin would probably pull the whole glasses trick to trick the speaker box into making the news win again. Coiny and Fiery are both on the same team, so they'll probably be slapping and punching each other a lot over the last few episodes, and just like in BFDI, people will get annoyed at that. And because Fiery won last season and is very likable, compared to Coiny at least, they'll probably vote Coiny out. Remember, BFB is not implied to this scenario, so it would probably not be that known for his friendship with Pin. And just because I can't think of how the challenge will go, the news will probably lose again, seeing that they've had a little bit of a winning streak. Gelatin would not be annoyingly stupid. In fact, in this scenario, he'll probably stay the somewhat kinda smart character who has all those little like needles that do special stuff. I don't know, maybe he'll get like a new kind that he can use throughout the season. But anyway, because of this, I feel like Fries would get eliminated as he's more mean, I guess, and Donut would probably be more like his teapot self over the next few episodes, so he'd probably be safe. I'd like to imagine that because of Match's elimination, Pencil and Ice Cube have an alliance within the team, and because Book and Ice Cube are both friends, and Ruby probably would have talked to Pencil quite a bit, so Ruby and Book would probably be added to the alliance once the merge hit. Because Pencil probably would have talked to Ruby more, Pencil probably would have convinced whoever won the swap token to let Ruby swap over to the team. And while yeah, I did say that there's no swapping, I think the swap token would probably be an exception because, well, I think it would be even more impactful as a prize seeing that it's used like this. Golf Ball would still lead the team to go to the old Shade's house, and they'll probably not sell any ice cream like in normal BFDIA, and they'll probably lose. Ice Cube would probably get the most likes and the most dislikes, since Spongy isn't there to get more dislikes. Needle would also probably be interested in joining Free Smart after Ice Cube gets eliminated. Tennis Ball would still have his trusty magnet and will probably get all the keys to win the challenge, so the News lose. Nickel would probably seem to be the most annoying. If they do decide to make him more of the more sillier character, he'd probably get eliminated for just being a silly character and not being normal like the rest, and if he still stayed sarcastic, he'll be eliminated because of that. I believe that due to Golf Ball and Tennis Ball's invention of the bug anti-poison, they'll probably win for their team. And yeah, Gelatin is immune to bugs, however I feel like they just kill Gelatin in another way because the challenge is just more of killing people and the bugs are just there for you to use as weapons. Episode 13 would just be like that nice little before episode 14 thing. Don't know much what will happen. I don't know what the eliminated characters will do, but I feel like I want to set up Donut feeling a bit upset about Pin, you know, not having a body. In episode 14, it would probably be Bommy that gets out, as out of the characters here that were elimination that episode, it was Bommy that got the most votes, so he'd probably be out. Anyway, who will be the 5 duels this episode's challenge? Book and Ruby and Pencil and Needle will be the same duels. Tennis Ball and Golf Ball will obviously team together. Fiery and Gelatin, despite not being on the same team, wouldn't even get to know each other. However, I feel like they'd still be paired with each other, seeing that Donut would probably choose to work with Pin to help her, seeing that she doesn't have a face and whatnot. I know that the Kinder Donut was kind of introduced around BFB and Teapot, however, in normal BFDIA, the characters do seem to keep their Teapot personalities at least a little after the hiatus, and if I'm adapting the challenges from post-hiatus BFDIA, I might as well, you know, adapt the personalities. Tennis Ball and Golf Ball would definitely dominate the game. Needle's song would probably let her win. Donut would probably do pretty well on his own, and I feel like he'd do a pretty good song at the last part of the challenge. And I feel like the writers would probably want to put Book and Ruby up for elimination, seeing that Free Smart make up 2/5 of the whole game. Ruby would be eliminated, and the rest of the alliance try to form their duo. Donut would probably put Pin with Tennis Ball and Golf Ball, so that way Pin would probably have a better chance of winning this contest, and he'd be put with Fiery and Gelatin. However, it turns out that the mats are actually about the shapes, so the teams they'll actually end up with will be Book, Pin and Fiery for the stars, Needle, Tennis Ball and Gelatin for the quasi-rhombis, and Pencil, Golf Ball and Donut for the hearts. I wonder where I've seen that trio form. I feel like it'd be funny seeing Donut try to calm Golf Ball and Pencil down as they argue over random stuff. And also I think the hearts will probably win again. I feel like the stars would probably just be like the team that sucks that challenge, while it'd be the quasi-rhombis that actually pose challenge to the hearts. I should mention that at this point, after duo win with Fiery and being closer friends with Fiery, Gelatin would grow to be a little more sillier. Not like entirely silly, he'll still have some smart moments, but every once in a while he'll do a silly thing. That's why I believe they'll both be in the bottom 2, because there'll be more goofy characters than the rest who are a bit more likeable. I feel like Fiery would get eliminated because he already won the season. It would be really complicated to pace the episode if there was 8 unique trinkets, so I feel like there will probably be some excuse for them to make small groups for this episode of any size. There will be 5 groups like in the normal episode, Free Smart being one of them with none of the annoying team swapping shenanigans, Golf Ball and Tennis Ball, and Gelatin, Donut and Pin making the other 3. In this episode, Pin would also win the prize, so she'd have her mech suit. And unlike in normal BFDIA, where her hatred was towards Free Smart, it'd be towards pretty much everyone else, you know, being the most violent player and killing them so that way she can win. And because she just got her face back, she'd probably be the one to end up winning because of her violent playstyle. Penn would notice that Donut was the only one that really cared, so she'll choose not to sabotage him. However, she still ends up winning. In episode 17, Golf Ball would probably be the one to end up getting eliminated as she's more bossy, and Pencil, Needle, and Book would be more friendly and, likable, so Golf Ball would probably try to get Tennis Ball to try to break up Free Smart by getting Needle to leave it. And so Needle decides to strive to be a solo player so that way she could win for herself. The WTFers would probably deform everybody that's clean before the challenge starts, and it would also be a full-on merge challenge. However, the winner gets to pick 2 other people to keep safe. I feel like the 2 people that Donut would choose to keep safe would be Pin, because he still sympathizes with the fact that she did not have a face for a while, and Pencil, because he worked with her on the hearts. This episode was around the point that Tennis Ball started to get a bit of hate, and him convincing Needle to leave her friends in Free Smart would probably not get him too liked as well, so I feel like it'd probably be Tennis Ball that gets eliminated. The same wacky shenanigans that happens in that episode normally will ensue, however, with everybody with 2 lights, and now there will be Donut, Book, and Pin rush into the final tower. I feel like Book would still die to Pin using a drill to kill her, however, that will not be the dramatic end of this episode. Pin would be at her most violent this episode, just killing people for a closer chance of winning. Despite Pin's attempts, she makes it a little late as Donut is the one to reach the lights. However, before turning on his, Donut tries to talk to Pin about how she's been so mad and killing others to win the challenge. Donut knows that Pin would probably explode if he won the challenge right in front of her, and so he tries to tell Pin that despite the fact that she was shrunk and got her face removed, she shouldn't be lashing out at other people because of that, and that her murderous actions will get people to not like her anymore. And well, because of this, Pin realizes that if she loses this challenge, she'll be the one that gets eliminated. And so, reluctantly, Pin kills Donut to get to her lever and win the challenge. Pin would be a bit upset with herself, but soon realize that if she's gone this far, then there will be no chance for her to get redeemed, so the only chance for her to win the whole season is to win every other challenge, no matter what it would take. Pencil would probably get eliminated out of the 5 up for elimination. It's kind of funny when you think about it, she got eliminated in episode 19 in BFDI, and if you consider her getting sent back to the past in Teapot is her getting eliminated, that means that's 3 times that Pencil's been eliminated in episode 19. Anyway, enough of getting sidetracked. I feel like in this episode, Pin would still be as violent as last episode, maybe a little less, but just roughly around the same. She'll still avoid Donut, however, throughout that entire episode, Donut would be contemplating within himself if he should ever forgive Pin. Donut and Gelatin work together for a little bit throughout the challenge, and they soon become close friends. Book tries to convince Needle to work with her, seeing that Donut and Gelatin have been working together, however, Needle is still adamant on working by herself. This part of the challenge will end with Donut stealing Pin's basket, like how episode 19 ended in normal BFDIA, except it's Donut that ends up winning the first part. Throughout episode 20, Needle will start to realize that her working by herself will just leave her with no friends by the end of the game, and so her and Book decide to work together for the rest of the challenge. Donut decides to glue Gelatin and Pin's baskets together, so they'll have to work to each other. And Gelatin's silliness will slowly start to grow on Pin, and Pin will be slightly nicer by the end of the episode. Because Pin would be way more nicer to Gelatin, Gelatin decides to let Pin win, so that way she probably wouldn't be eliminated. Anyway, the vote would be between Book and Gelatin, and I feel like Gelatin would probably be more well liked after this episode, and will probably be the one to be safe in episode 22. Episode 21 would probably just be way shorter than usual, seeing that Pin and Leafy wouldn't have their little shenanigans. It would be pretty distraught by Book being eliminated immediately after they both became friends again, and so she decides to try to win for Book. Gelatin decides to befriend Needle during the course of the challenge, seeing that Pin and Donut are more of a closer duo, and also they've had time together on the quasi-Rombis. Needle would probably be the one to be safe by the end of the episode, and between Donut, Gelatin, and Pin, I feel like it'd be Pin who gets the most votes to be eliminated. Despite getting redeemed, she'd still be a little bit more harsh, as that's a part of her personality, and also her past actions in earlier episodes probably will not be forgiven by some viewers. I do not know how they'll make BFDIA 23, the penultimate episode, and 24 interesting, seeing that, well, there'll probably be no challenge since it's going to be a final 3 voting. So I'll just talk about who I think will win the vote, and I feel like out of all the characters, people would probably vote Donut to win, seeing that he helped pin the most and is probably the most likable out of the three. And it's kind of funny when you think about it. If we just gave Donut a chance back in BFDIA 1, he might have actually had a good chance of winning the season. However, I know there will probably be some discourse on who would have won, so that's why in this video, I'm actually going to have a forum on who you think should have won out of the final three. The same forum would probably be on who you think had the most unfair elimination, since there was probably some hot take out of all of the eliminations I've thought of. Make sure to follow the Hello Neighbor subscriber gif, and yeah, that's the end of the video. Bye. Also, for the end card, I'll just show a little screen displaying the elimination order.